Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Isabel. We are coming to you live from our head office in Stuttgart. Although the weather is a little bit chilly, we have prepared a hot topic for you about ELO integration with Microsoft 365. I'm joined today by my colleague Edgar. I'm really glad that you're here today. Before we start, I have a little more information for you. You will be muted during the webinar, but are welcome to ask your question in the question box on the top right corner at any time. After the webinar, we will of course take the time to answer any questions you may have. So start writing your questions now. And after the webinar, you will of course receive the trainings materials shortly after the webinar. And now the time has come. I'm looking forward to today's presentation and welcome, Edgar. I hand over to you now.
Thank you and welcome from my side as well. My name is Edgar, and today I will show you ELO integration with Microsoft 365. So, which topics will we cover? First of all, we'll have a look at the world of Microsoft 365, what's all in there, and what can you do with Microsoft 365. Then we'll have a look on the tools for collaboration and information sharing in Microsoft 365. And then we'll have a look on how to bring your documents back in your company and not in the world of Microsoft 365, which tools are possible and necessary for this. We'll have a look on ELO Sync for Microsoft 365. And then we'll have a short live demo. Afterwards, we'll have a look on what you can do with the integration to Microsoft 365. And in the end, we have the highlights and the questions and answers. And if you have some questions during the webinar, just ask them in your questions box, and then we will answer them in the end. So let's have a look at the world of Microsoft 365. The world of Microsoft 365 combines different applications which you can use in your company during your daily work. We have the typical office applications like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneNote, but we have SharePoint, um, OneDrive, Teams, and Microsoft Exchange as well. And all of those applications have different topics, have different ways to work with them. So, oh, Access we have as well, but no one needs Access. So we have the Office applications for creating documents and information. So with Word, you can create a Word document. With Excel, you can create an Excel sheet, or you can just open it and then think, what am I doing here? With PowerPoint, I make my PowerPoint presentations. Outlook is for sending and receiving emails, and OneNote is for taking notes. And how to work with those applications in combination with ELO. For this, we have or had a webinar some weeks ago. More details can be found on our YouTube channel, where you will find the webinar recording on working with Office applications and the ELO ECM suite. Another thing what you can do with Microsoft 365 is collaboration and information sharing. For this, we have Microsoft SharePoint, we have OneDrive for Business, and we have Microsoft Teams. And then we have Microsoft Exchange for managing emails, calendar, tasks, and so on. So in combination with Outlook. So today we'll have a look on collaboration and information sharing. For collaboration and information sharing, we have OneDrive, we have Teams, and we have SharePoint. And all of them have different meanings, different topics. So with Microsoft OneDrive, you can work on all your files. You can sync them with your local hard drive, and you have access to your files. They are stored in the cloud somewhere in the world. So you can access them from everywhere, even if you're not on your own computer, but you are somewhere else, and then you log in and then you have access to your files. So OneDrive is for working with your personal files. Then we have Microsoft Teams, where you can uh, communicate through a chat or do some calls or make some meetings with it. So Microsoft Teams is, as its name says, for working with your team. And then we have Microsoft SharePoint to work with your organization. So there we have shared documents. You can work together on a document, and you can even create some intranet with Microsoft SharePoint. So all of those three applications have their own topics, have their own meanings. OneDrive for working on your files, Teams for working with your team, and SharePoint for working with your organization. And all of them have one thing in common: they all file the documents or store the documents in the cloud. So OneDrive, documents are stored in the cloud. Teams, documents, if you share some documents in Teams, they are in the cloud. SharePoint, the documents are in the cloud. The thing is, a good thing for this is they can work together, because you can work with uh, SharePoint documents in Microsoft Teams, or you can use OneDrive documents to bring them to SharePoint or to Teams. So they can work together, and you can use the same information and the same documents on all of those three platforms. The information is stored in some data center. So, for example, when you file a document in Microsoft SharePoint, or when you publish a document in Microsoft SharePoint, then it's depending on your region, which you have defined in your SharePoint environment. Then it's stored in some data center. So it can be that it is stored in Germany or in France or in Sweden or Norway or Romania or Italy, depending on the region which you have defined in your SharePoint. Which is good, because for this you can access your documents from everywhere. So you can share the documents in SharePoint and others can access them as well, or you by yourself can access them even if you're in another country, because they are in the cloud. They are not somewhere on the storage which you only can access when you're there. No, they're in the cloud. You can access them from everywhere, which leads us to some disadvantages, because some documents are not allowed to be stored abroad. So, as long as you're in the EU, you are not allowed to bring documents with personal data abroad, or government regulated documents, tax relevant financial records, documents subject to professional secrecy, trade secrets, and sensitive business data, compliance critical documents, and so on. So those documents must not be stored abroad. And the thing is, when you're a country who left the EU, then you are not allowed to store them outside of this country. So that's something which you always have to think of when you use SharePoint, because SharePoint can file or store the documents in a data center depending on your region. Sure, you can create a region where you say, okay, I'm in uh, Germany and I want to store them in Germany, or I'm in France and want to store them in France. I'm in the UK and want to store them in the UK. And so, but well, can you be sure that your documents are really stored in your country, or do you have to think of maybe there will be some documents which are stored in another data center? So that's something which you always have to think of when it comes to SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive. In which region, in which data center are your documents stored? And am I allowed to store the kind of information in another country? So for this, we have a solution for sure, because otherwise I wouldn't make a webinar on this. Because with ELO, with the ELO ECM suite, you can bring your documents back into your company. So the ELO ECM suite files everything in a central repository. It's an enterprise content management or document management, and you can file everything in a central repository, which can be in your company on premise, or which can be operated in the cloud as well. But uh, yeah, you can operate it in two ways. But the thing is, you have a central repository, and every department, every employee in your company has access to this central repository and can access the information as long as they have the permissions for this. You can file your documents with metadata, so you can define a document type and you can add some more metadata to it for two reasons. One of them is to find your documents much faster when you're looking for them, and the other reason is you can even file a document automatically in the correct location thanks to the metadata information which is available. And then my document disappeared. And you can streamline and automate processes with the built-in workflow engine, which comes with the ELO ECM suite in standard. So that's just a small overview of the ELO ECM suite. You can file everything in a central repository with metadata. You can streamline and automate processes. You have a full text search in it. You have some collaboration tools in it, and so on. If you want to have more information, there's a webinar recording on this as well on our YouTube channel. So when we now want to change that OneDrive, Teams, and SharePoint documents are stored in the cloud, then we have to do something. We have to bring the ELO ECM suite in the middle so that the documents are then available in the ELO ECM suite. So for this, we have ELO Sync for Microsoft 365. So ELO Sync for Microsoft 365, as it says, can synchronize documents with SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive and bring them into your central repository, which in the best case is then operated in your company so that you can make sure that those documents which are not allowed to be stored in another country stay in your company. How does it work? So on the one hand, we have the ECM suite with documents in it, and with, in this case, just some folders in it, but can be used with documents as well, for sure. Um, that's the one side. We have our central repository, folders, documents, metadata, and so on. And on the other side, we have SharePoint. And in SharePoint, let's say we have the same documents and the same folders, and we want to bring them together. For this, we can use ELO Sync for Microsoft 365. What it does is it synchronizes the documents, not only synchronizes the documents from SharePoint to the ELO ECM suite and back, but you can do some more things with it. So we can import the documents from SharePoint to the ELO ECM suite. So we have an existing SharePoint and we are starting with the ELO ECM suite, then we can import them in the ELO ECM suite and nothing else happens, just importing. We can also export it, the documents from the ELO ECM suite to Microsoft SharePoint. That's the other way around, or we can do both. We can just synchronize them. So we have one document in the ELO ECM suite or a folder or whatever, and we have the same document, the same folder on Microsoft SharePoint. We can synchronize them so that they have the same state, that they are up to date in the minute we change them. So those things can be done. Importing from SharePoint, exporting to SharePoint, or synchronizing the documents. But there's more, because it depends what you want to do with the document. So you can just sync it with ELO so that all of them is the same state, or you can create a link to ELO. So we get a document from SharePoint, we import a document from SharePoint, and then the document is replaced by a link. It's just a web link. And then when you click it, then you will be brought to the central repository, to a web client or something like this. And then the document opens. The document isn't stored in SharePoint. It is stored in the central repository, but you have access to this information by using the link which is available in SharePoint. Or you can do another thing, you can just import the documents and delete them on SharePoint because, well, can be done as well. So those three possibilities we have: just syncing or replacing the document with the link so that the document itself is filed in the central repository in your company, or we can just import them and delete them on SharePoint, but they are available in our central repository as well. So this I can show you live. If you don't believe me, I can show it to you. So I have a presentation environment here. That's an ELO client. That's the so-called ELO web client, available in different languages for sure. In this case, it's just German. Didn't manage to change the language, but doesn't matter. To access the repository through a web client, you just need a browser. And here in the browser we have a tile which says Contigo. This brings me to my repository. Here we have the search, here we have the tasks and some other features which are available in the ELO ECM suite. So the task section is for working on your tasks which you receive through a workflow. Search section is for searching for documents um, through metadata information or the full text information, which is automatically analyzed when a document is filed to the repository. But in this case, we just want to access the repository with this tile here. And there we have some documents, we have some folders with different folders. And here we have a folder uh, where we have some subfolders in it and some documents in it. So, for example, we have a PowerPoint presentation, we have a PDF, we have a Word document, an Excel sheet, and so on. And this structure, this folder, is automatically synchronized with Microsoft SharePoint. Because in Microsoft SharePoint, which I have opened here, we have the same structure in here. We have the same documents in here. And when I change a document, what I can do, so let's make it in English, ELO changes. We can even do other things than writing German. Um, so I've changed something. Now I close it. So we changed this document. And what I now do is you don't see it because I have to make it manually. It synchronizes the document which I have changed automatically with my repository. So in my repository, there should be then a new version of this document. If I, oh, sorry, if I, it was version 7 before, now it's version 8. The date is the actual one. So if I then click on this document and open it for viewing, then we should see our changes. Doesn't open. Oh, now it opens. So here we have our changes. I changed it on SharePoint and then it got synchronized with the ECM suite. In my case, it was a manual step necessary, but normally it works automatically by time or by changes or whatever is defined in here. So the documents are the same state in the repository, in SharePoint, and even in Microsoft Teams. We have the same documents in here. And they are the same state as well, should be the same state as well, because in Microsoft Teams we have access to the documents which are available on the SharePoint, because they are linked together so they can work together. So that's what EloSync does. It synchronizes documents from SharePoint to ELO, or from ELO to SharePoint, or we can change replace the document with the link, and the document itself is filed in the repository and not in SharePoint anymore. So that's what you can do with ELO Sync for Microsoft SharePoint. I have to find back to my PowerPoint presentation. Here it is. So that's how it works. What you can do with ELO and Microsoft 365. You can bring information which is stored in a data center, but isn't allowed to be stored in a data center, back to your company. So all those information which you are not allowed to bring abroad, you can bring back to your company, and it doesn't matter if you're in Germany or in France or in the UK or in, don't know, Sweden, Romania, whatever. You can bring the documents back to your company, and then you meet the legal requirements. Because documents with personal data or government regulated document, tax relevant documents, and so on are not allowed to be brought abroad. And those documents can be brought back to your company. And then you know where your documents are. So what are the highlights of ELO Sync for Microsoft 365? You can do centralized archiving instead of scattered data seals, because you can make sure that all the documents are in a central repository. The thing is, uh, well, it always happens that you don't know where is the information stored. Is it in Teams? Is it in SharePoint? Do I have it on OneDrive? Uh, did I receive it with an email? No, with the ELO ECM suite or with ELO Sync for Microsoft 365, you can bring back those documents which are in Teams, in OneDrive, and in SharePoint, and you can bring them back in a central repository. And it's one point where you know how no where you know where to find things. Centralized archiving. You can do automated synchronization, no manual work required, as I did, but manual possible as well. No, it's automated synchronization, so everything works automatically. You don't have to do something, and when something changes in SharePoint, then it is changed in the repository as well, thanks to automated synchronization. You meet legal requirements like compliance and GDPR because the documents and the information is stored in your company and not somewhere in the data center. You have the powerful full text search across all content available as well, because everything which is filed in the central repository in ELO can be full text searched, because the full text information is available as well, and you can find your information much faster. You can combine content. For example, you can combine emails with documents, with notes, with um, some information which comes from somewhere else, and you can combine the content in a context-based archive entry. So, for example, you can create an archive entry for a project where you not only have the project related documents in it, but the emails as well, or some notes which someone took, or if you had a meeting, the meeting notes will be available there as well. And you can integrate the ELO suite with your business processes, so it's smart integration. You can use the workflow for approving things, or you can automate some things which you always had to do manually, thanks to the ELO ECM suite. So we have some customers, we have many customers. Some customers use ELO Sync for Microsoft 365 as well. So, for example, Colussi in Italy, food industry uses the ELO ECM suite for um, managing the data and the documents, the product related documents in the ELO ECM suite. Or on the other hand, we have the police department of Zurich. They have many things. So most of the time they use ELO with mobile devices like tablet or smartphone. Uh, but there are other things as well. So they had to bring back documents from the SharePoint, which they did with ELO Sync from Microsoft 365. If you want to do it, we have ELO business partners worldwide. They can help you with implementing not only the ELO ECM suite, but ELO Sync for Microsoft 365 as well to bring back the documents in your company. So that's it. Now it's time for questions and answers. I have to open my questions tab. No questions so far. So if you have some questions, you can ask them now, or you, well, can ask a business partner if you find one on the partner finder on our website. So thank you for your attention. And I'll give back to the studio.
Yes, thank you very much, Edgar, for your great presentation. At the end of this webinar, we have prepared a short survey for you. We would really appreciate it if you could take a few minutes of your time and give us your feedback on today's webinar. Let us know if you like today's webinar and which webinar topics you would like to see next. And if you want to register for more webinars, please visit our website, elo.com. Please keep in mind you can register up to 1 hour before the webinar starts. Thank you very much for attending our webinar today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have, and I can welcome you at our next webinar as well. And until then, have a great day. Goodbye.